Today we're getting under the hood with Maria Lence, a daughter, sister, friend, women's advocate, and the founder of For Women's Health. Her extensive experience building marketplaces as an early team member at Booking.com inspired Maria to launch a startup dedicated to helping women find the right health provider. Before immersing herself into the founder's journey, she worked at Expedia, TripAdvisor, Booking.com, and Sojern, creating strategies to increase revenue, develop go-to-market strategies, create new products, and new distribution channels and sales. Maria is passionate about women's health, and when not working, you can find her traveling near the ocean or being active doing yoga, hiking, or playing golf. Wow, welcome, Maria.
Thank you for having me, Elizabeth.
I'm so delighted to be here. It's season 4, Women's March for Mental Wellness, and I can't wait to get under the hood with you. If it's okay, let's get going.
Great.
Awesome. I love this question. And everyone has an inflection point. What was your inflection point that got you on this journey to mental health and wellness?
I was at a doctor's office many years ago after being for 3 years already unwell and seeing how it was affecting every cell in my body, including mental health. The doctor was dismissing me, was telling me that it was pretty normal to have bronchitis, pneumonia, and flu all together in 3 months, which for a 30-something-year-old, that's absolutely not normal. And I was telling her that my nutrition, it said that maybe that seemed that the calcium was high, that I needed to have it tested. At this point, I didn't have a diagnosis yet. And the doctor refused to do it. And she said that a nutritionist was not a doctor and that she will not test my calcium. And that was my inflection point. It's like, if I don't advocate for myself, this is never going to be solved. So I just pushed. And I decided that I was not leaving that office without my calcium being tested. So I managed to get it tested. And 24 hours later, they called me to ask me for more tests because it was in fact high. And that showed that it was something in the body that was not working. And that led to the diagnosis a week later after 3 years. So that was just the beginning of the end. But man, I was finding myself, I was always like a very stable person and suddenly crying for no reason and forgetting everything. So I need to start creating strategies until I have a treatment to take care of myself. So that was my point.
I am so sorry that you were dismissed. And of course, a lot of women and most women are dismissed. But in this case, to advocate, and what's a little tragic in it is that you were with a female doctor. So she didn't even see you or hear you. I'm just kind of curious, and for the audience sake, what was the final tipping point? What did you say to her that got her to give you the calcium test?
Well, I went strong because it was, it was a long journey. At that point, I saw already like 10 physicians and specialists like gastroenterologists, everything. And it was nothing they told me that maybe I was stressed or depressed and nothing else. So I just told her that at that point, we had 2 options. Either she tests my calcium or if what I had was related to calcium, I will come after her and take her responsible for not giving the proper care.
I applaud you for that. I want to say I'm really happy I asked that question because that is giving permission to women who are listening and even men to advocate for yourself, to say, no, I want that test. Let's be honest, physicians are human too. To be human and make a mistake is one thing, to not give you what you're requesting is another thing. And so, I want to applaud you and really say, good job on really advocating for yourself and pushing. So take us on this journey because you said all of these things, when you are unwell, it impacts your mental health. Talk to us about the journey of all of this.
Well, I started having a lot of symptoms and I was seeing my health declining. I couldn't do my day to day. Like, I remember, we were young, going out. I was living in London at that time. A close friend of mine was visiting and he was calling me. He's like, so what are the new places in London and everything? And I told him, I have no idea. And he's like, what do you mean? He's like, I'm not going out. It's like, you're not going out? It's like, it's like, no, I'm not feeling great. It's, yeah, I'm doing other things. And after the weekend, he called me again. It's like, you left me very worried. Like, what's happening? This is not you. Like, what's really happening here? Because it was true. Like, I was not sleeping, but then I was tired all day. I was suddenly, I will be in the shower, and I didn't know if I put the gel on my body or not. I forgot. Like, it was insane. And I was seeing all my body like failing, and the doctors most of them were ignoring me, saying that maybe I was stressed or depressed. There were some that test me for I don't know how many different cancers. And I just had no diagnosis, and I was just left by myself. And I don't blame them. The truth is that doctors are not taught hormones. They're not. So they cannot treat you for something that they're not aware themselves. So it's not their problem, it's not their fault, it's the system's fault. It made me aware of how much hormones dominate our whole body, not just physically, but also mentally. I mean, it took all the resilience that I had because it took 5 years to get properly diagnosed and treated. And there was a point, like, I was for a year and a half, like, not going out, only work. And then during the day, and my life was heavily, heavily impacted, including my work. I had difficulties concentrating and functioning. My brain was much slower than it will normally be, unsettling and very worrying because I was seeing how my body was failing and nobody was helping me in any way.
That's really scary. I'm really sorry to hear that. It is so scary when any of us are navigating our health journeys to be on that though and feel so lack of being seen. I just think of the things that happen to women like spontaneously based on hormones, whether Graves' disease, hyperthyroidism, hypothyroidism, all these things happen as you're going through the different phases of, perimenopause and menopause and post. It's like it's a lot to navigate. But then there's the other layers that go into life and the stresses, the different things that we have to do to just function. So I really, again, I really appreciate it. So after 5 years, what were you finally diagnosed with, by the way?
Hyperparathyroid, which is a gland that is behind the thyroid. And I was living in London. So it was due to lack of vitamin D for many, many years. As I explain it, it's like, well, there is nothing wrong with you having a little vitamin D deficiency for a little while. But when it's many years, it's as if I was walking in one shoe with a high heel and the other one in a flat. One day is fine. Several years create a lot of issues in the body. And that's what happened to me.
Oh, I think that's a really interesting analogy, and thank you for sharing that. I just heard about the parathyroid because I myself went in because of having Graves' disease of ensuring that everything was okay, and the doctor wanted to make sure because the thing about the parathyroid is if your body isn't absorbing calcium, that's a precursor to osteoporosis. And I
Yeah.
had just had my bones tested, so I think this is good for you to know. And I assume that you're on calcium and vitamin D now, right? Lots of it?
Not calcium. I don't need to. I just take actually vitamin D and magnesium,
Okay, wow. Okay.
but not my calcium is completely fine
So,
as long as I have the vitamin D.
so I think what's interesting, Maria, is you've gone on this, you had this health journey that really was that inflection point of mental health, but you also were at the same time, you were navigating all these startups and really robust, marketplaces that you were working at, which I would imagine the level of stress trying to, achieve the numbers and everything you had to do. So take us on that journey, if you will. What was that like?
Well, while I was navigating my health problem, right? That was very stressful because I was seeing that I was not performing at the same level. And I was seeing that my boss was thinking that actually maybe I was faking it or pretending or something like that. And actually, at the end, I had a surgery. And I remember when one of my colleagues told me that it's like, it's very lucky that you had the surgery, because that proves that actually you were unwell. And I didn't realize until that moment that they maybe even thought that I was pretending or faking or something like that. Yeah, that was something that surprised me. But when you're a male, you don't have, your hormones are pretty stable in general. So you don't know hormonal imbalances. You don't go for the ups and downs that we go on our period every month, all of these things. But I remember reading a statistic saying that 90% of women will go through a hormonal imbalance at least once in their lifetime, at least. And in my case, I had two, because one for many years leads to another one. So I had the burnout. Fixing the burnout actually took longer than fixing the parathyroid.
Share about that. That's interesting, fixing the burnout.
My stress levels were so high because it was the stress at work plus the physiological stress in the body. So the body got like a tipping point. It's like, I'm done. I was not sleeping. I will be fighting to be awake from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. No, actually like 9. And then at 9, I will be fully awake until like 1:30 a.m., something like that. Then I will fall asleep until 4, 5 maximum, and then awake again. And that was for a year and a half, something like that. And I'm someone that needs at least 8 hours. That was the worst thing for me. But I couldn't even exercise, because when I was exercising, I observed that every time that I was feeling better, I will start exercising again. And suddenly I was having like flu symptoms. But then I never had the flu. And when it happened the third time, I was with a personal trainer and I was almost throwing up in 5 minutes. So he stopped me. He's like, we cannot carry on. Like, this is not normal. Your heart rate should not be this high after 5 minutes. There is something wrong here. And I start having the flu symptoms again. So then I start researching, and it's like, this is the third time. As soon as I do exercise, this is happening. So I start researching, and that's where I found the adrenal fatigue saying. And it was like, okay, so this was the missing point that I had. And assumed that that was all I was able to do, is like take a day at a time and slowly trying to get back my capacity to exercise. And that was by lowering my cortisol, which was extremely high. So it was the same. I was eating super healthy and I was just gaining weight. And it was super frustrating. And it was nothing I could do. Like, I even hired a company that delivers at home, like the food with certain calories, and I was still gaining weight. It's like, man, this is not helping. So it was doing a lot of restorative yoga to calm my nervous system, taking lots of supplements to balance my adrenals, and not exercising, and ensuring that I was not eating, avoiding alcohol, avoiding sugar, and not eating either glucose or lactose, avoiding anything that could create a stress in my body. But going back to my normal exercise capacity took over a year.
I'm just thinking about your journey, really this unhealthiness. And then you worked at these incredible organizations creating these marketplaces. I'm thinking, let's talk first about how you marched for mental wellness, and then I'd like to talk about a course for women's health.
Mental wellness is extremely important for our life, for our quality, for our relationships, for our work, for everything. But I see it extremely connected to hormones in my experience. That has been that I feel that many times we miss that link. I see so many women that are given antidepressants, and what they have is a thyroid issue that has not been diagnosed. Or they're taking the pill and they are depleted by vitamin B's, magnesium, and zinc, which is something that can happen when you're taking the pill. And women do not know that. So they might have more anxiety and everything. And it will be as simple as just taking those supplements at the same time that you take the pill. My biggest advocacy in mental wellness is ensure your hormones are in line. Because just think of this, when you have your period, this happened to me, probably it happened to most women. Right before the period, I will be more sensitive. I remember like watching movies and I will be crying like a baby. And then my period will come the next day. It's like, that makes sense. It affects us heavily, the up and down that we have every month. So and I believe that psychologists and psychiatrists should be educated in hormones because they will be a much better doctors for their patients.
You need that hormonal conversation across all of mental health experts, along with of course, women's health experts along the continuum. It's kind of critical. And I think that it's the more we know, the more educated we are. It's not so much prevention. You can, in some cases, prevent, in some cases,
Yeah.
it's more about ensuring that things don't progress and, controlling it. So I think that's really
And
interesting,
treating the cause as well,
getting to the root.
instead the symptom.
I love that. So talk about, I love what you just said about how you're marching for mental wellness and sort of the way you see things, Maria. I think it's fascinating. So as you came to be, what was your inspiration? How did you see your inspiration in forming the organization that you're building today?
Well, it was through my own research, when I was trying to find what was happening to me. When you watch these detective movies that they have like a panel with, the things connected, that was me. I actually had my symptoms. I organized them by symptoms in the body, systems in the body, like musculoskeletal, and I put my symptoms, sleep, hair, nails, and skin, and I put my symptoms because after when you've been for 3 years and nobody is helping you, you need to do your own research. You need to advocate and learn and educate yourself. And to be honest, I knew nothing about hormones. And I think I'm not an exception. Most women don't. I start educating myself, doing a lot of research, had like potential things that could be. It was actually one paramedic that also helped me. I had a panic attack and I thought I was having a heart attack, and it was due to the parathyroid. And this paramedic told me, it's like, are you having these symptoms? Like, just to let you know, check, because this is what I had, and it might be what you have. And he was right. That was the symptom that then, the cause that then was discovered. But for me, it was more that I was highly educated in how to search properly online. It took me a long time to find all the answers, all the education. It was very difficult to find information online. And finding a doctor that had the knowledge to treat me, that was an odyssey, to be honest. And I was working in these companies that make so easy for you to find exactly the hotel with all the amenities that you could wish for, to the extreme level, like the number of beds in the room, like the floor, anything that you could wish for. Why didn't I have the same to book a doctor, which is way more important? Like, I felt that in medicine, we were at the brochure stage, before booking.com, Expedia, and TripAdvisor existed. Our parents, when booking their holidays, they will go to a travel agent and they will see a brochure, and good luck if the hotel you're going to has any resemblance to the pictures they're showing you. And I felt that that was exactly the same with the doctors. I checked their expertise, and when I went to, that wasn't the case. It took me 5 endocrinologists to find one that actually knew how to treat the parathyroid. And I was doing a lot of research. I was going to the Mayo Clinic, to everything, checking with my labs. And if I was able to find that information and that was not my job, why all these other people didn't? So first I realized that they're good, but excellent and regular professionals in every profession, including medicine. That when a doctor is an excellent doctor, does not care if you ask them questions. Because when someone feels comfortable with their knowledge, they love sharing their knowledge and they love answering questions. I just learned to walk away from something that it didn't have the level that I needed. We were almost taking doctor's word as God's word, like there's nothing to be questioned here. While they're human, they could have bad days, they could lack certain knowledge. If every doctor knew exactly the same, nobody will ask for second opinions, nobody will go to a different clinics. We're all humans, and we just accept that we are all humans and that you need to educate yourself when it comes to health. My platform was I'm building the platform that I wish I had
I love it.
when I was going through that.
Well, I just love that. And I think that you hit the nail on the head when you said it earlier, when you made the comment around the system wasn't built for that. I hate to, it's not the doctor's fault that they don't know
No,
if they weren't educated, if it wasn't part of their learning, if you will. So it is very frustrating. But the point is finding them. And I think that you've hit the nail on the head. If you can build this for women's health platform that does what Booking.com, what TripAdvisor, what Expedia do for the travel industry for women's health, you will save so much time. And if then there becomes the educational aspect, because I think like right now, and this is great for Under the Sisterhood, it's stories. When women hear stories and they get referrals and they have this experience with this doctor or this experience, that's what shapes a lot of how they move in certain directions if they're fortunate enough to hear a story. And so
exactly.
that's amazing. I can't wait. When do you imagine that your platform will be going live?
Well, we're doing private beta. So we're hoping for end of Q3 to launch publicly.
Wow, that's amazing. I'm so excited. And I think that will be a wonderful thing to share. I mean, because, and I'm kind of curious, as you're building this platform out, how are you evaluating the referrals, the physicians that you're going to drive them to? Do you have a certain secret sauce to that?
No, I don't really do that. What I do is a technical platform. And what I give is I provide enough information for women to make an informed choice because I don't want to tell anyone which kind of doctor they need to search. I just give them all the possible information. So if you're looking for an OBGYN, you will know if that OBGYN is a specialized on menopause, on pregnancy, if they prescribe HRT in perimenopause, if they prescribe HRT on menopause, if they prescribe testosterone. You will know all of that before booking the appointment. You can choose which kind of doctor you're going to go. And what I create is something like a circle of trust where doctors can create their own circle of trust that we all know people in our profession. So a doctor probably knows a pelvic floor specialist, a nutritionist, an acupuncturist, a primary care, a nurse practitioner, a psychologist. And that's what I want them to put. People that they know, that they have the same level of knowledge than them, and they trust to send their patients to it. And it's not that they kind of refer each other, it's just their circle of trust. So for me as a patient, it's extremely valuable that if I know my OBGYN and I trust that doctor, and that doctor has in their circle of trust a nutritionist, 90% chances that that nutritionist will work for me too. Because normally we all relate in circles where we have the same, we're in the same level, in the same wavelength, and to include everything that is women's health. Because women's health is mental, is body, and is physical. So you have the endocrinologist, the urologist, the primary care, the psychologist, the couples therapy, the psychiatrist, the personal trainer, because a personal trainer needs to know in which stage of life you are to treat you properly, because it's not the same exercise that you should do at 50 than at 20. You can filter by that. So you ensure that you get the right health provider.
But I think that will be great and really, really helpful to women. And I love the fact that Maria, it was all inspired by your own journey. We often hear that there's like two different types of founders, the ones who have a personal experience, they build a company to meet this unmet need or demand. And then there's the other entrepreneurs who have an idea and it's just a strategy. They go out and build it and there's not the connection, but it's really powerful when you have that experience, because you can say with certainty that you've been through this and this is an unmet need you've experienced and you've noticed in others. So how are you
Yes.
feeling about it?
I mean, it's been a journey, and I think this is the kind of journey that is better that you don't know how hard it's going to be, because otherwise you wouldn't embark on it for sure. But it's something that I saw so many women suffering, because at the beginning I thought that maybe I was unlucky. But then it was like every woman that I was meeting telling me, sharing me their horror stories and saying like with frustration, is like, but where can I find information? I don't even know where to look for information. And I don't even know which will be the right doctor for me, which I want to create for that in the platform, a section on well and undiagnosed, to help walk through these women to someone that could help them diagnose. I think it was really hard, but when you have a mission, I feel that it's like a moral obligation. If you know how to solve an issue that is affecting millions of women, what other choice do you have apart from doing it, regardless of how hard it is? You just have to do it. There is no plan B, there is no other options. You just do it.
So it's resonating with me, because if any of us understood what the journey would be like in entrepreneurship, or as a woman in particular, we'd be like, yeah, I'll go work for someone else. But the truth is, there's the other side of it. Yes, there is a social responsibility and a moral obligation if you can solve a problem to try and do it. There is. But there's the other side of it, the being emboldened, empowered, and leaning into your ability to do it as a woman and say, I can solve this problem, man. This is like, I am going to go give voice. I'm going to educate. I'm going to find the right doctors, like upend how we look at women's health and access to the right support, the right care. And so I think that,
Yeah.
I think it's amazing.
But as women, I think we doubt ourselves. And I remember I didn't take the journey lightly. I educated myself once I decided that it had to be a better way, and I was trying to solve it, because I think that's part of my personality. When I see a problem, I look for solution. I don't focus on the problem. I rewire is like, okay, how do I solve this all the time? So that's my personality. So I start thinking, how could I solve this? And I start educating myself in women's health. I did plenty of courses. I quit my job. I went to study nutrition just to mingle also with health providers, to understand what were their challenges, because there is no solution in women's health that does not involve helping health providers, because they're overworked. We really need to support them, and we really need to give them the tools so everything can be better for us. Once I had everything done, I had my business plan. I met my mentor, which is, he was the person that hired me in my last company, and he was the SVP there. And it was someone that I trust completely, and I bounce ideas with him. And I was thinking, it's like, but building a company is huge. Will I be able to do this? Like, I was doubting my capacity, and I talked to him and I explained him my plan, and what I wanted to build. And it was like, he was like, whatever you need from me, how can I help you? If you need me to introduce you to someone, I'll introduce you to whoever you want to. So it was just seeing in his face, yeah, this is a proper solution. It's like, okay, so he thinks I can do this. But it's funny, like how you need that validation. It's like, okay, he really knows me and he knows how I work. So if he thinks I can do this, it's because I can.
That's amazing.
So, and since then, I didn't doubt it. I know I can do it. So
That's
yeah.
that's wonderful. And clearly you're lucky to have found, a mentor like that who you could bounce the idea off. It's like an idea that hasn't been done. And so sharing is, for me, I know that sharing can be really hard. So to have that mentor that you trust, in a way, it isn't necessarily build it and they will come in some cases, but not in most. So I think it's amazing that you've done all the research, the homework, you have the lived experiences, the researched experiences. And then the beauty is we have a system that has so many knowledge gaps which provides you an opportunity. I don't know if there's anything else you want to share about the experience. Yeah.
Yeah, I when I was trying to validate the idea, I interviewed hundreds of women and hundreds of health providers. And the last thing I did was, okay, I'm gonna do this in a proper. I work with a UX researcher, and we did a survey. And I wanted two things out of the survey. First, to know if what I was creating was something that women will find useful. And second, if I create it, how fast can it grow through women? For us, we tend to, if something works, we tell our girlfriends immediately. So we can create a word of mouth growth that guys don't do. So I went to an event with my QR, and I approached like 20 to 30 women, and I told them, it's like, hey, I'm building this company, and if you could please fill the survey and send it to your girlfriends, because I need as many as possible. But I also need to prove investors that we women need something related to women's health. So at the end, I talked to around 40 women. In a month, I got 108 surveys. So that's how fast something, and that was a survey. It wasn't even the product. When you build something as a patient, like thinking, what would help me? It's not a review by doctor. You need to filter by health conditions treated. You need to give proper filters so you can find faster what you need.
And then the word of mouth, the power of the word of mouth. And if it's something that doesn't fill an unmet need, that requires filling an unmet need, boy, are they all over it. So kudos, great strategy. And I know when I read your intro that you go to market strategies, you figured that one out. That's fantastic. How can people find you, Maria?
They can find me in LinkedIn or the website that is still closed because the beta is private, but it's forwomenshealth.co. And they can join the wait list there, either if they are a women, if they are a doctor, or investors can also find us there.
Wonderful. That's wonderful. And again, congratulations. And I have one last question, which I think you'll love. I mean, this is your platform today to give a message to women of all ages, of all cultures, of all backgrounds. What do you want to leave them with, Maria?
I want them to know that we are creating this for every woman. I understand the differences by ethnicity, and we're addressing that too. So I want every woman to know that they can advocate for themselves. And if they feel unwell, they should look for information and look for maybe a different doctor. There is no problem on changing doctors. It's not an insult to them. This is like relationships. They could be a fantastic person, but they're not the person for you. And that's fine. They need to take care of themselves and find what suits them.
I think that's a great message. I really like that. And I think, at the end of the day, it's all about advocating for self. And it's hard, Maria, it's so hard to make that change and find a new doctor, because finding a doctor is scary. Finding a doctor
Yeah.
you connect with and you feel sees and hears you, like that's a lot of work. So I think that's a great message. And I just want to say thank you so much for getting under the hood with me today and for sharing your journey. It's amazing the work you're doing. And I know that For Women's Health is going to be hugely successful.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure, Elizabeth, and thank you for having me on your podcast.
Thanks for listening to Under the Sisterhood. If you haven't already, please give us a quick rating and review on Apple or Spotify. And make sure to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn so you can hear from more amazing women. This podcast is created and hosted by Under the Sisterhood LLC and Elizabeth Elfenbein, produced by Elizabeth Elfenbein and Matt Butler, and edited by Matt Butler. The music is by Ayla Schaefer. Her song, Rose.